Hello, and I guess welcome to this first video in the How to Read Sheet Music playlist. So what I want to start with, and if you already know what a beat is, you might want to skip this first video, but I just want to pretty much talk about the concept of a beat. So if you're really starting from the very beginning of, you've never read music before, never really had any type of understanding on music. If you've ever heard someone talk about a beat and never really known what exactly they're talking about, maybe this will help you out a little bit. So pretty much all a beat is, is it's a unit of time. Unit of time. And it's the unit of time that musicians are going to use to pretty much divide up time. It's the same way that, if we have a watch, if you have a watch with an hour hand and a minute hand and a second hand, the second hand is going to divide time. You can kind of say that the second hand is going to beat, it's going to change its position 60 times in 1 minute. And that is typically how musicians are going to measure a beat, or how they're going to measure time. They're going to measure time in beats per minute. Let me write that down. Beats per minute. And this is normally referred to as BPM. BPM. And the way you would figure this out, and just a quick example of this, the way you would figure this out is you would take the number of beats, or if you had a piece of music that you wanted to figure out how many beats were in the piece of music, or what the average tempo was of the music, you would just take the number of beats that you would count. If you took 1 minute of the music and you count how many beats occurred in that 1 minute of music, and then you would divide it by how much time had elapsed in minute, or if you counted the number of beats that happened in 1 minute. And typically, no one really does that, or I'm going to actually do that in a second, but I'm going to do that with the help of my computer. No one typically does that, just goes ahead and counts the number of beats in a minute. But pretty much you can figure out that that's really what's going on. If you're figuring out the tempo of something, or the BPM, you're basically averaging out. You're figuring out what the average tempo is. You're figuring out what is the average number of beats that happen in 1 minute. So as a quick example, where I was saying a second hand on a watch can help us, is a way that we measure time every day. We could say that how many times does a second hand beat in a minute, or how many different times does it change its position in a minute? Well, it changes its time 60 times every 1 minute. So that's going to be the same thing as 60 beats per minute. So if you had a metronome and you wanted to set the metronome to click every single second, and I've got a metronome right here, and this is, by the way, I'm going to use this a lot. This is a free web metronome. So if you go to www.webmetronome.com or do a Google search for web metronome, you can find this. You can use it for free. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, I think you can download an app that's pretty much this exact same thing. I think you have to pay for the app, but if you just use it on your computer, on your web browser, it's free to use. But all a metronome is it's just this device that if we tell it how fast to go, and if you can see down here, this one's set to go at 60 beats per minute, which is what we figured out a second hand on a watch is going to beat at, and we start it going, it's going to click off, like for example, right now, this is going to click as fast as a second hand would click on a watch. So I'm just going to start that right now. So hopefully you can just see that this is clicking about as fast as your second hand would on a watch. And if you were going to play a piece of music along with that, and you knew that the piece of music was at 60 beats per minute, this is what you would set it. And you can use these arrows, and all metronomes have some way of adjusting my tempo. So right now I'm making it beat faster, so I'm fitting more beats in per minute. So let me just start like that. So you can hear that this is going faster than a second hand on a watch. So anyway, that's just a little bit of an introduction to how a metronome works and what a beat is. And let me actually just tie this in with a piece of music. Now, the real way to figure out the beat and the real intuitive way is just to put on a piece of music and kind of tap your foot to it or clap along with the piece of music. And typically, if you can clap your hands or tap your foot along to a piece of music with any type of rhythm, you have found the beat. You have figured out where the beat is. And what I'm going to do here is this is a piece of music. This is John Scofield. Well, it's off of a John Scofield album. It's a John Scofield album he did as a tribute to Ray Charles. But anyway, it's an album that has a very obvious beat. And this is just a visual way for us to see this beat. So let me start this playing just for a second. So hopefully, one of the big things that hopefully you can see is we can actually see as the playhead moves. So there's our playhead right there that's moving along. As the playhead moves and hits these big spikes in our, what this is called a waveform, but as the playhead hits these big spikes, we can really see where the beat is. We can see that, we've got a beat kind of right here. There's a beat right there. There's another one right there. There's another one right there. And they happen pretty much at regular intervals. And hopefully we'll talk about this more in the future. A beat doesn't have to be, a completely regular interval. A beat can vary in its tempo. And, if you don't understand what I'm saying, don't worry. We'll talk much more about that later. But the important thing to realize is the real way that we would just find this beat is if we were just able to kind of clap along with this track or tap your foot along with this track. So actually, I'm going to play it again and just try to tap your foot along with it. And typically, if you can tap your foot along with these sort of spikes right here, and even I'm going to go through once and I'm just going to mark them. You'll see these little dash marks appear right on top of these waves. So if you can see where I'm dividing these beats up and where these little dash marks appeared on top of the waves, hopefully that was about when you were tapping your foot, when the track played along. And if you were doing that, you could say you have found the beat. You've found the beat of this piece. And what I'm actually going to do now, I'm going to use this program called Transcribe, and you don't have to. You definitely don't have to really buy anything or, to watch these videos, but this is a really useful program. And what I'm actually going to make this program do is I'm going to select under all of these beats that I've just kind of input into this program, and I'm going to select an amount of time. So like I said, this is where the computer is going to count how many beats I put in, so the beats I put in up there. And then it's going to figure out how much time did I just select. And I'm even going to kind of adjust. Can I adjust? I guess I can't adjust those regions, but I guess it's not a big deal. This doesn't have to be super exact. But it's going to count up the number of beats that I just put in this region and average it against the amount of time that I've just selected. And it's going to try to figure out how fast this tune is. So I'm going to do that right now and say compute tempo. And it says the average tempo over the 11 markers selected is 84.7 beats per minute. So that's about 85 beats per minute. So even here, I'm just going to play this back again. And just get a feel for that tempo that's going along. Maybe clap your hands or tap your foot to it so you can sort of hear where that is. And now I'm going to get my metronome back out. Right now it's set to 89. Let me just set this to 85, just so you can hear that it's about the same tempo as the tune. So here's the tune. So kind of remember that tempo, and here's the metronome. Let me see if I can get them in sync. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a little bit of an intuitive feel of pretty much what a beat is and what a beat feels like. It's really not difficult, and especially if this is your very first time ever hearing the word beat or hearing about the concept of a beat, it might be kind of tricky the first couple of times you do it. But I really don't want to overcomplicate it beyond just if you hear a piece of music, being able to tap your foot in rhythm to the music or clap your hands in rhythm to the music. If you're able to do that, you have found the beat and you've pretty much mastered at least this very first concept that you kind of need in order to understand how to read music. So anyway, hopefully you found that useful, and in the next video I'm going to get into a little bit more about the specifics of sheet music. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Oh, I stopped this. Oh, that's right.